Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to Dearly Not So Departed podcast. Today, I am so honored and privileged to be speaking with my new friend, May, and she is in Western Australia, and we connected through Facebook. She had made a post on Facebook in a group that we mutually belong to, and she talked about how she likes to struggle on occasion, as everyone I think does, and how she just knew that all of her non-physical guidance was on the other side, just having a party, living it up, and just just watching her as she is in this struggle until until we become willing to just let it go and just to let that beautiful energy flow in. So welcome, May. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Janet. I'm very glad to be here, and I'm so happy that we met.
Absolutely. It's an honor. And I love that here I am in the United States and Texas on the other side of the world from you, and you're in Australia, in Western Australia, and we have this beautiful connection.
Don't you think it's like, so we've got all this space between us, right? And all this time between us, but it is right now. And remember, we were talking yesterday about it being like a bowl of jelly and we're suspended in it. Well, if taking that a step further, all the people, places, and the beautiful earth, which I love, all in between, in that bowl of jelly, connected by our love, our lives, and our entourage all around.
Energy is powerful. Unconditional love is powerful. Soul connections are powerful, and I love that it's still Thursday for me and it's Friday for you.
Yes, I love that thing. I have had an experience with time, which I wanted to share with you later.
Okay.
Now, if you want.
Whenever you're ready, let's just dive in.
Do you want to hear the experience with time that I had?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I was working. I used to be a phlebotomist, which collects blood from people.
Okay.
And I was late for work. So at home, I was about 20 to 25 minutes late. And you know how you rush around like a mad thing?
Yes.
I did that, and eventually I was ready, and I jumped in my car, and I thought, okay, from now on, now I chose to do this, but I know where the inspiration came from. It came from for everyone, my entourage, because every one of us has huge entourage around us.
Yes.
And the entourage generally wants us to live happy, carefree, hoppy lives like little bunnies in the field.
Exactly.
Yes. So I thought, okay, when I got into my car, I thought, I'm going to listen to my audiobook because it was about a 45-minute drive. And I'm not going to think about the time. I'm not going to acknowledge that I might be late. I'm just going to enjoy my book, enjoy the scenery of my drive, and get to work, which is what I did. And I arrived at work, and I was exactly on time. I can't explain it. I didn't speed, so there was no police chase or anything like that. I'm so disappointed. I've never been chased by the police, and I kind of wish I had. Anyway, and it was my usual time. How did that happen?
So time expanded to meet your needs.
That's exactly the perfect description, because I never said it like that, time expanded. But it was so surreal. And when I try to explain it to everybody else, they look at me like this.
Like you're crazy.
What? They think I'm a nut job, and I don't mind. I really don't, because when we drop one little exciting experience into someone else's life,
Yes.
it makes them open up a bit more to their own people, their own entourage, their own like office assistants.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's the whole point of me, why I know that I was called to do this podcast and to share these stories with other beautiful humans, is to encourage, to give hope, to let people know that this is not, this is the ordinary. This isn't something, this is everyday occurrence.
Yes.
But
And
I mean, come on, if you were 25 minutes late and it was a 45-minute drive, if you do the logical part of my brain wants to do the math, and how is that, I mean, seriously.
It's not possible in humans, as humans.
Right.
It just seems amazing to me. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Do you know, I thought about it and fed on it for days, months afterwards. And I thought, oh, it's tangible proof. It's tangible proof for me.
Yes, this stuff is real. It is legit, just as legit as anything in our, physical. And any of us can have that if we're open and receptive, and if we want that, to have that experience in our life. And that's why I love spiritual practices and just focusing. That's where I love to spend 100% of my time, is just in the spiritual realm. And because it's so powerful, it's more empowering than anything else.
Oh, and it makes your heart, well, for me, it makes my heart feel better.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I read somewhere that if you're feeling miserable, smile. It doesn't matter if you grin like an idiot or whatever you want to do, but if you can hold a smile for 30 seconds, then you automatically start feeling better. So
Exactly.
I've done this so many times when, like, if I'm feeling down and out, then I'll grin like this, showing all my teeth, as though my teeth are hot, and I have to pull my lips back from them, like.
Right.
Because in that way, when I'm smiling like that, then my heart starts to bubble and I feel like a bubbly feeling in my chest.
Yes.
And that joyful, bubbly feeling helps me get through this 5 seconds of misery.
Yes.
And it's such a relief.
Exactly, because we are here on this beautiful planet to live life to the fullest, and to be happy and to be playful. Think about, to have childlike curiosity as adults. I mean, think about children and how they just, they have no fear. Fear, they just
right.
They don't know fear, and that's somehow that gets trained out of us. But that's this, if we all embodied and lived in that state of mind, that mindset, oh my gosh, the world would just improve like that overnight.
I think it is. I think it's already happening.
It is.
That it's improving. And it's because of this, the internet.
Yes.
And people we would never have met in real life.
Yes, exactly.
Never.
Exactly.
Unless I happen to land in I want to go on an apex cruise.
Okay.
That's my dream. To Alaska or to the Arctic or somewhere really cold. Anyway, I like to go forward and then segue off into nothingness.
That's okay. As long as we're having fun, as long as we're bringing joy, that's what it's all about.
So, what was the point of that? The point of that was, I don't know. But what is important is that our connection through the internet all over the world has made the world better in my view, because
Absolutely.
we're so used to watching the news and going, oh, and in actual fact, that's one small tip,
Right.
and the rest is the 100-mile journey. So
Right.
to my mind, I'm so thankful to live in this time,
Yes.
to have the internet. Well, in my belief, we have many, many lives.
Of
This is
course.
just one of them.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the cool thing, knowing that we were clamoring to get here. We knew the challenges, or many of them, that we would face before we ever were born into our physical bodies. We knew all of that, and we were willing and ready to take that on.
Oh, I feel personally quite proud because we all came onto Earth in spite of the thought of a nuclear holocaust, despite the history of misery and death. And we still wanted to come because the Earth is so beautiful. And even if you've only got a matchbox full of Earth, it is our Earth. And
Yes.
we are here to play on it and experience it.
That's right. That's right. That is so beautiful. I love that perspective. Wow. But I do, back to your point, you were saying that things are, improving, and the internet has been, and I do think that that's part of what the whole COVID pandemic was about, was expansion of the consciousness of humanity as a whole. And because we want more joy in life, we want more love, we want more beautiful relationships, we want more beautiful experiences.
And compassion. To my mind, it's compassion as well.
Yes.
Because throughout my life, I've learned quite a few things. I've actually wondered if I have Asperger's syndrome or a little bit of autism. I know no pushing on other people,
right,
who have those syndromes and all that sort of thing. But I think people with autism, with Asperger's, and us, our birth sign and all of that stuff, to my mind, we are people who are new humans.
Right.
And I think during the COVID pandemic, and even ordinary death from whatever we die from,
yes,
in that we are going to come back as young babies again into new energy that we've built.
Right.
To me, it's tremendously exciting. And can I tell you another story?
Of course.
To try and illustrate this point. Okay, when my mother died, and there's loads of stories about my mother's death. But when my mother died, I have her jewelry, and I kept thinking, all this jewelry, and I don't know how much it's worth. I don't even know if it's worth anything. But the fact is that it was her jewelry. She loved it. And I wanted to share it with my sister, my niece, everybody, related to my mom. And so the one day I was walking around thinking, what can I do with this darn jewelry? I've still got it, by the way. I haven't done anything with it. Anyway, so I'm going, what should I do? What should I do? And I actually said to her, and she's in spirit, remember,
yes.
Mom, do you care what happens to this jewelry? And the answer came back within seconds, and it was no, not really. Because once you've shuffled off this mortal coil, you don't give a darn about anything. I'm trying not to swear because I actually swear quite a lot.
It's okay.
And I'm very good. Can you edit?
I don't edit. It's gonna be posted on just like it is. No editing. So
once we've died, we don't give a damn about anything that we owned, because it's the strings and threads of love that we've had with all the people on earth.
Yes.
And I think that only when everybody we ever knew in our life, our real life, everybody we knew personally, like, anyway, all of that sort of thing, that is the only thing that matters. And only once we've completely finished up all those relationships on earth do we be the new person that comes back into the earth. And I think with my mother and her jewelry, once I've passed off the jewelry onto all of my daughters, granddaughters, I don't have natural daughters, they're my daughters-in-law, but they're my daughters. My sons brought these young women to me as my family.
Sure.
And once I've passed off all the jewelry and out to the family and all of that sort of thing, and kicked the bucket myself, only then will the legacy that we have made to experience in the world and make the world, will that sort of like filter out, and people will say, you know, I heard of this person, Janet. I heard this person, Janet, did this podcast about that. Let's go find it. You know, and that's how we all work around everything. We sort of, and I'm so grateful for the internet. Anyway, so where were we? Because I've wandered off into the realms of, grand.
It's okay. So you know, I like to kind of focus on our dearly not so departed loved ones, or sometimes, you know, it shows up differently, but if you have a particular person, you mentioned your mom and what they were like when they were here and what she was like now in non-physical, is it the same? I mean, I had one podcast guest that her grandmother made her transition, and she was kind of, she'd had a tough life. So she had a great life, but she was a Holocaust survivor. And so she migrated from Poland to the United States, and went on, like I say, to live a wonderful life. But there was always a thread of, I don't know what it was, fear. And then when her grandmother made the transition at almost 100 years old, she became just, it was a total different energy.
Yeah, I think my mother and I were estranged when she made her transition.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. So I was cooking dinner one evening, and a thought, and I was just thinking about, I'm going to put on the vegetables and, you know, chop up the onion and that sort of thing. And this thought popped into my head like that, you know, like a boink. And it was my mother. And I thought, well, if mom dies first, I won't go, because they live in the UK. I won't go back for her funeral. And then about 25 minutes later, my sister rang and said, Mom's in hospital. She's got septicemia. It doesn't look good. And I thought, in her dropping into coma, or the last few minutes before she died, and we have to use this language because that's all the language we've got.
Right.
I mean, I can't speak something fascinating like Sanskrit or, you know, any of that stuff, but
right.
I know, don't you wish you could speak something fascinating?
Absolutely.
And somebody will understand it and speak back to you. Anyway, so when she dropped in, to my mind, it was my mother making amends with me.
Okay.
And so I sent an email to my sister to read to my mother when she was in her coma, because I know we can still hear when we're in a coma. We can still hear until the last second of death.
Absolutely.
And actually after death as well, because I've been in contact with a spirit who I actually saw pop out of his body at the moment of death. And he said to me, will you look after her? And I said, yes. And off he went. And I thought, I just saw a spirit.
Wow.
I just saw a spirit, everyone. And it was him, and he was such a lovely man. Anyway, my mother was making, so I sent an email to my sister to be read to my mother, full of apology for my behavior, because I behaved like an absolute amoeba. And my mother acknowledging her willingness to apologize to me or make amends to me for wrongs that we had both mutually done to each other.
Sure, sure.
And my mother and I have got a much better relationship now than we ever had in life,
Yes.
because all that human stuff is not in the picture. It's a pure, I hesitate to say love, because it's much more than just love. Love is like, oh, I love you. This is respect. This is understanding. This is acknowledgement. It's just a beautiful thing. So Mom and I,
it's unconditional. It's just pure, unconditional, pure liquid love. I love liquid love. It's just liquid love.
Seeping through oozing all over us.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I love that too. And so that was how my mother and I made amends and ended our estrangement at her death.
Okay.
And even now, I mean, my mother was, she sewed my wedding dress, and it was beautiful, Janet. Absolutely wonderful. And I don't think I ever thanked her for it in life.
Okay.
Which still, I think, I was such a cow. But I was her cow.
I'm sure that she knew you appreciated that, because
She does.
Right, because energetically and from your heart, from that energetic place.
Yeah. Well, she does now.
Well,
and I
absolutely.
think that's actually what matters.
Exactly.
But so she's had quite a lot of influence on me. She's one of those who's had quite a lot of influence on me. So I've got my list here. So I'll just tell you. So I smoked for 36 years from the age of 13, like a full-on smoker.
Okay.
I had a pack a day habit. And I tried to quit and I couldn't quit. And I tried to quit and I couldn't quit. This went on for years. Eventually, when I started to cough a lot, I thought, and I also wasn't enjoying it. I'd light a cigarette and think, I hate smoking. So I walked around and I said the one day, you have to help me quit smoking because I can't do it on my own. And it has to be easy and pleasurable and smooth, and it has to take for the rest of my life. Long or short, I don't care. I have to quit smoking. Anyway, I was still quite nervous about giving up smoking because I had seen in the past how terrible it made me. I became so irritated and irritable because I wasn't outside in the sunshine smoking my cigarettes. Anyway, the one day I went to our local library, and there on their, they do these promotional books, on the side. And right there in a spotlight was this little white book called Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking Forever. And you know how you feel between your eyes?
Yeah.
And that's not a sign. I don't know what is. And I took it home, and that was that. I read this book. Now, it's a thin little book, and I read it for 3 weeks because I didn't want to stop smoking because I was scared. I was scared of trying to quit the habit.
Sure.
And I didn't know what I was like without cigarettes.
Right.
So I read this book cover to cover, including all the little advertising things and with the who published it and the date and all of that sort of stuff. And then on the last day, on the last page, with my last cigarette, I'd made it to that end. I finished my last cigarette down to the nub and threw everything out, like my empty box of cigarettes. I even threw out my lighter. Never throw out a lighter. We always need them for other things. And I thought, okay, we're going to do this now. And I don't know if you've ever smoked or have you ever known anybody
Yeah.
who smoked?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you quit smoking, as soon as you finished your cigarette, you start craving the next one. It's
Right.
a strange thing.
Right.
And as I walked away from the garbage bin, I thought, oh, I'm so glad I'm a non-smoker. I'm so glad I don't smoke. And all the craving went away.
Wow.
All
Wow.
of it went away because the Alan Carr book is neuro-linguistic programming.
Mhm.
And it is so boring that as you read every word while you're smoking your head off with your little cigarette, it's changing all the cell stuff.
Yeah.
When the craving fell away, do you know, I could sing like a bird released. I was so happy. I had finally kicked my cigarette habit.
I
And
love that.
every time I craved a cigarette, I'd say, I'm so glad I don't smoke, or I'm so thankful I'm a non-smoker, and things like that, you know?
Right. Right.
And I'd do it like 20 times a day. But now it's been, 13, it's been 10 years.
Okay.
10 years, maybe today. It's what? It's May?
Yeah.
It's May?
Today's May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
And May the 5th be with you too.
Yeah.
And so it's been 10 years, more or less. And I am so thankful I found that boring little book, because
But
I think
you were led to it. You were obviously led to it. Don't you feel that way?
well, I know that way because I said, you have to help me quit smoking. I hate it. I want to
Right.
quit, but I can't. And
Right.
then when I walked into the library and I saw that book spotlit, bang between the eyes, I knew they
Yes.
had encouraged the librarian to put that book on the shelf for me.
Right. Right.
I've tried not to be evangelistic about it. You know, when I see people smoking, instead of going up to them and saying, you've got to get this book, I say, please, I ask my entourage to talk to their entourage
There
and
you
say,
go.
please help these people. I know what it's like. And, you
Right.
know, I've had folk die from drug overdose, and I've had folk I know die from suicide, and I've had folk die from like cirrhosis, you know, that all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Dying from something that you did in your life that wasn't so great,
Right.
and all that. But you know what? I think I don't care about that. If you smoked your entire life, if you shot drugs into your veins all of your life, if you drank yourself into oblivion, it doesn't matter,
Right.
because that is your life.
Right.
And you lived your life and you helped the world. You changed the world.
Right.
You were vital to us.
Right.
No matter what kind of life you led, you
Right.
were vital and necessary to us.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you for your service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So even though I smoked for 36 years and I hated it, she says, after spending a small fortune on cigarettes, it doesn't matter, because my life and your life and my brother's life and this one's life and that one's life, every single life that has been alive on the earth from the dawn of time to this very moment, today on the 5th, yesterday on the 4th, those lives have been vital and necessary.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And we wanted to come here. We wanted to be incarnated into these, we wanted to come to this amazing planet Earth to experience all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we knew that.
I love that movie. I love the soundtrack of that movie as well. Anyway, that's another segue. Have you ever talked to anybody who's in the realm who you never met in life, but who maybe is a bit famous?
No, the only thing I can think of was, and I just had this conversation on another podcast I recorded, was the Abraham Hicks, after in 2020, when they started doing the free live sessions after COVID, the pandemic happened, Einstein showed up in one of those sessions. And yeah, Einstein showed up in one of those sessions and communicated through Abraham, and it was a delicious conversation. But I was watching it live, and the cool thing was I felt Einstein's energy. I did. I felt Einstein's energy.
Because he was so towering. He's
right,
so big.
Right. And that's the cool thing, that it doesn't matter if we know them or not. If we can connect with anybody's energy we want to, whether they're physical or non-physical, it doesn't matter.
That's right. Okay, so that was my segue, clumsy, but there.
It's okay.
Of an experience I had with Freddie Mercury.
Loved it. Loved Freddie, loved Queen.
So I was interviewing him because I like to do that. People think it's talking to yourself, but it's not, because you've got all these people around you listening and experiencing with you. So I was talking to Mr. Mercury, or Freddie, and it was a very deep but funny exchange. We were having a great chat. I'll get rid of that. So when we came to the end of it, I said to him, you have to give me a sign in real life, and it can't be a Queen song, because then I'll know that it's sort of contrived, and they're always playing Queen on the radio. I said, it has to be something that is not a Queen song, but I must know it's your sign that this is real, that this happened, this chat, this interaction. Anyway, I went to visit a friend, and I told her that I'd said that Freddie Mercury must give me this sign. Anyway, we came to the end of our very long visit, because I like to sit a long time and talk a lot. And I got into my car and switched on. And you know that song from Mika Grace Kelly? Do you know that song? Anyway, in that song, there's a specific chorus that he says, Mika, the singer, says, should I do a little Freddie? La, you know that beautiful harmonizing they always have? La. And at that exact moment was on the radio when I turned on the car.
So you knew that was Freddie.
I did, because I said, oh, thanks. What a perfect sign. I would never have imagined it. And it's brilliant. Because my friend was standing there. I told her about what I'd said to him, and the radio played, and it wasn't the start of the song or the end of the song. It was that exact moment. Should I do a little Freddie? La. And it was there. And I just, whenever things like that happen to me, Janet, I'm so astounded. Yes. I'm so thrilled yes. to my toenails.
Yes.
And I have great intentions of writing it all down and say, oh, this happened on this day. I never do. But I love that it happens.
You should start a blog.
Well, I don't really know how to do a blog. You know what? But somebody will make me do it if they do.
Well, you just type your stories down. You get on there.
It's written word blog.
Yeah, written word blog, not a vlog. There's a video log, and there's just a written word blog. Start a Facebook page and write your stories on there.
I'd love it. I always say, yeah, I'll do it. And I never do because
Well,
I'm easily distracted.
well, if you're supposed to do it, you'll be guided to do it. But I love that you connected with, you had just this mind-blowing conversation with Freddie Mercury in the non-physical. I mean, how cool is that? And then he sent you asked for a sign that was not a Queen song, and he sent you that song.
And it was beautiful. I always feel so grateful when I actually get them, because sometimes it's like trying to hammer a nail through a piece of titanium. It ain't gonna happen easy, sister.
Right.
And sometimes I need those big signs.
Right.
Because otherwise I sort of have doubt. I doubt that I'm getting the right message, and I doubt this and I doubt that. But in actual fact, when I look back at all the stepping stones that have happened through my life, I think, oh my goodness, isn't other directed? Because, like the one time there was this man and I knew nothing about him. We were standing outside the hospital that I worked at having a smoke, as you do. Well, he was just standing there. And I said something to him, which I can't really remember right now. And he, you know how you do that thing where you go, oh! And he did that. And he said to me, how did you know? And I said, how did I know what? And he said, how did you know that I was trying to decide whether to leave my job and go full time into mediumship?
Wow.
And I didn't know, but
wow.
I was the confident to say the words to a
Yes.
complete stranger.
Yes.
And he was aware enough to pick him up.
Yes. I love that. Yes. There's been many times when I know others have served as a conduit for messages to me, like even before I was on the spiritual path over 20 years ago. But even, or I've been the conduit for someone else.
Yes. And I believe that we are all angels for each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there's no coincidences. Have you heard of Cryon? Cryon?
I've heard of Cryon. I've never listened to any of the podcast or any of that.
Cryon, who I only heard about, I don't know when I heard about him, but I only heard of Cryon, and through Cryon did I hear of Abe Hicks.
Okay.
So that was a conduit to Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
Now, I love Cryon. I love listening to Lee Carroll say, channel Cryon, but I love Abe Hicks more.
Yes, yes.
Dude, yes. I love Esther more.
Yes. I have a girl, I'm going to admit, I have a girl crush on Esther. She's just, she's so delightful. She's so delightful.
And sweet. And I always want to cuddle her or give her a hug, and you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Oops. But, at the same time, I think if it's like a sort of romanticism that I get from Esther and Abe and all of them, and nobody works in a vacuum. They all work together.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's why I think, because I have kind of a scientific seeking for knowledge. I seek knowledge all the time.
Sure.
And that's where Cryon had to come in, because he was an engineer and he likes to get all his ducks in a row and that sort of thing. And I appreciate that, because I want to know too, because of the skepticism that is natural to all of us. Because from child, most of us are told, no, that's not there. There's no such thing, and that sort of thing. And I think Cryon managed to get me through that And then I was introduced to
yeah.
Etchells.
Then you were open and ready. You can't hear
And
the
ready.
message or the messenger unless you're ready to receive that.
Exactly. And it was almost as though at that time I felt this. So I joined a meditation class. I hadn't meditated before. I'd sort of fooled around going, trying to quiet my mind and all of that sort of thing. And in this meditation class, I actually felt this feeling like the top of my head. You know, when you put your fingers there and then you expand your fingers and go down,
Yeah.
that's what I felt like. It felt like my head went up,
Okay.
which was it's a beautiful feeling. And when spirit, it's the only way when the entourage is trying to talk to me and I'm going, I have to do the vacuuming now and I have to go and dust something. I never do. The dust is protecting all of this furniture from wear and tear. That's what I tell myself. But when I don't want to interact with the ethereal world, when I'm trying to be miserable and unhappy in this world,
the struggle.
They tingle on the side of my head, my left side of my head, like that. I get this beautiful feeling like somebody's scratching through it, you know?
I love it. I love it.
And when I was a child and I was sick, my mother used to do this. And she'd just stroke my head. And do you know, it was the most comforting thing that I ever experienced. Even now, if I do this, even to myself, I feel comforted. And I do that to my grandchildren, which is such a joy for me. Anyway, so we're blabbering on about nothing.
We're having fun. We're having fun, and we're bringing joy. We're bringing joy. We're bringing hope and encouragement.
So I have another story. I've actually got quite a few. So I used to have premonitionary dreams. I have had quite vivid dreams.
Okay.
So when I was where have I got to? Premonitionary dreams. All right. So I've had a few. But the one that really sits with me now, and because it's such a relief to me. So I had this nightmare dream that my mother-in-law and my son were in a car with me and we crashed into a house.
Yikes.
And my mother-in-law's voice said, everyone's all right. Everyone's all right. And I thought, oh, thank goodness, everyone's all right. About 15 minutes later, the phone rings, and that's my youngest son, who was in the car with me and Shirley, my mother-in-law.
Okay.
And my youngest son said, first words, Mom, everyone's all right, but I've crashed my car.
Wow.
Actually, no, that's not true. I've mixed myself up with another dream. So that was on a Thursday night. I had this nightmare dream, and I told my husband in the morning when I got up, and I told my friend, the same friend with Freddie. I told her about the dream, and I said, oh, what a terrible nightmare I've had. And it was that night that he rang. I'd been in bed about 15 minutes, but I'd been asleep because I sleep quite quickly. I just can't stay asleep. Sure. So I'd been asleep and woke up, and he said, Mom, everyone's all right, but I've crashed my car. And it was like, thank you, Shirley. Oh, thank you, Shirley. You know, because I think Shirley, because she was in the back seat and he was next to me in that seat, and I was driving the car and I'd crashed it, and she said everything's all right. It was like because I've had some premonitionary dreams that weren't so good as an outcome. Right. And because I told my husband about the dream, I told my friend about the dream, it was validation that
Right.
my entourage had spoken to me.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, do you dream about those who've died? Do you dream about your boyfriend or husband or whoever? Do you dream them?
I don't, it's interesting because my connection is when I'm conscious. I usually don't remember my dreams, very, very rarely, but I too have had some conscious premonitions about various stuff. And sometimes I don't know what to do with them. Like, I remember in 2008, I had just moved to another state, and this wasn't even this was actually a physical premonition. Like, I was at the library, and a car crashed into a big old tree, and like almost right, like it must have happened right before I walked out, and I was like, wow, that's, it made an impression on me. And then less than 2 months later, I had a wreck as well.
Yeah.
So that was a premonition, but I get, I don't know how to put it, May. It's like I get these downloads. I think it's very similar to how Abraham communicates with Esther, but it's not a voice. It's just, it's a voice in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, they communicate with me in all different ways. It could be through random songs. Like that happens especially when I'm out and about. If I go to the grocery store or something, and I'll hear a song and I'll know who that song was tied to immediately. Yes. Who of my non-physical posse that song was tied to. One time, my mother loved Patsy Cline, and I don't hear Patsy Cline music because I don't, that's not really my genre. But I listened to a lot of Patsy Cline with my mother when I was a kid. And when was it? It was in the fall of 2016. A dear friend of mine invited me over, and a bunch of other friends, to a dinner party at her house. And her boyfriend at the time loved like vintage music, like Patsy Cline, even though, because these were much, she was much younger than me, 15, 20 years younger than me. But her boyfriend loved like all kinds of, that's the kind of music he liked. And the next thing I know, I hear Patsy Cline playing. He's playing, and he had actual records, that he played on the record player and on a stereo. And it was a Patsy Cline album. And I knew in that moment that was my mother for sure. She was just giving me a shout out.
She was at the dinner party, experiencing it through you. Oh, yes. What a gorgeous thing.
Yeah, it was incredible, but I knew that, but I have all kinds of signs, lights flicker, the burner on my gas stove turned on one time just by itself. I was sitting on the couch and I hear something going click, 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 and I knew it was the burner. And it just, it never came all the way on, but they were just clicking that it was the second burner, which of course we talked about. The second month is my birthday. So I knew that was, my people's, and
it was your people.
It was my people's, and it just brought me great joy. I wasn't freaked out or anything about it. It just brought me incredible joy. So, and there's, nature, ladybugs, hummingbirds, cardinals, any kind of birds, mockingbirds, dragonflies. When I was in Colorado, my boyfriend that made his transition, I saw the hugest dragonfly I've ever seen just showed up. I had a shepherd's hook that, was standing in the ground, and I had some hanging baskets on it. And huge dragonfly. It was, I don't know, it was probably 5 inches from
That's
top to
good.
bottom. It was gorgeous. I have a picture of it, but it was just amazing. But it just landed on that shepherd's hook, and it was just incredible.
When they do things that no dragonfly is going to do, you
Right.
know it's them.
Right.
Because I've had 2 dragonflies fly in formation past me, and there's no water in the area because
Right.
dragonflies hang out where there's water.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly, there was no water in my backyard or
right.
anywhere around. So I knew beyond a shadow of any doubt that, that was him. And he was just, letting me know that he was with me.
I love that.
Those are just those, and the sign, they're so, these are priceless gifts to me. It is so,
Yeah.
that communication in whatever form, whether it's, whether it comes to you through your dreams, or whether it's like mine, where they just, I'm conscious, it's always in my conscious state when I, or I mean, just, it's such a blessing and a gift, and it's priceless. And I love it. And I love spending my time having these conversations, and, just being in this energy of unconditional love, pure liquid love, that's
shaking the jelly.
shaking the jelly, the pineapple jelly. You said pineapple jelly.
I love pineapple jelly. But we do it for them too, Janet. Never forget.
Right.
So every time you eat or drink or laugh or have a glorious bowel movement, or, get to a beautiful toilet when you need to pee bad, or if you find a book that you just love and have to read over and over again, as we are enjoying our lives, they are enjoying our lives with us.
Yes,
it's like being the paintbrush that an artist is using to create.
Right. And just like you said about my mom experiencing that dinner party with me, through my eyes, they use, because when you're in energy form, and I know that's hard for humans to understand, but it's not the same. It's just nebulous mist, or whatever you want to. It's like a nebulous mist. So they do really enjoy experiencing this the beauty on this planet through our eyes.
Oh, I love that. Yes. And sometimes you can actually feel it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
Can feel that presence.
I've had times when they've never rubbed it like that, but, it was just kind of like a little fluttery feeling, just a fluttery feeling.
I'm feeling it now.
You are?
I am. I'm feeling it now here, which is now I'll get my fingers away so I can experience the joy fully. And
absolutely.
It's like our physical vehicle bodies are like the artist brushes that our spirit people use to experience our lives through us. And
exactly.
So sometimes, like my first glass of water of the morning, when I take it, I haven't brushed my teeth, I've just got out of bed and I've had my first glass of water. And as I'm drinking it, I'm aware that all of my entourage around me are going, oh, that's a great glass of water. I'm loving that. Or did you ever see the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh, yes.
So I got that from the library, and no, I can't remember how I came to watch it. But as I walked into my lounge room, it was on my television, that movie. And I actually felt the whole room around me packed with people. You know how you see silhouettes?
Yeah.
Silhouettes So this room was standing room only. I was
Wow.
alone, but the room was stuffed with people. I've got a cough. 36 years of smoking comes to fruition. And all of them were there to experience that movie with me, through
Yes.
me, and for me.
Yes, yes.
And it
Yes.
was like, whenever things like that happen to me, I'm so grateful. Because
me too. That it's a, like I say, it's a priceless gift.
and when I'm reading a book that I know my mother didn't read, and she was a great reader and she loved sci-fi, but when I'm reading a book and I'm loving it, I know that my mother's loving it too. She was such a big reader. She would go, "Oh, that's such a great book." Like if I'm listening to an audiobook, then I know that she's with me and she is listening too. And my mother-in-law, I loved my mother-in-law. She was great. She was such a good baker and a good cook and a very nurturing, motherly person. And she loved her family and she was wonderful. And when my mother-in-law's around, and I used to feel quite guilty because of my estranged relationship with my mother. But the thing is, they were such different people, but both of them had such a big impact on who I am today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the impact has improved or intensified since they both died. Why do we say died? Because nobody ever dies, just our bodies spark it.
No one ever really.
We are still there.
We change forms, and when you say dies or death, it's a word that just strikes so much. It evokes so much fear, and and that again is part of why I know I was called to do these podcasts and to share this information, because I want to spread the message that there really is no death. Our physical bodies expire, but our energy is eternal, and we are still, once you and I make our transition, we're going to still be as focused on those that we loved and those things that we were interested in when we were in our flesh bony bodies. But it's, then once we get to that state, then we don't have all the worldly stuff to, thrown in the mix.
For me, I was born in Africa.
Right.
And I had experiences when I was in Africa as a small child. But because I was so fearful all the time,
yes,
it was horrific. Sometimes it would overwhelm me, and I didn't know how to handle things.
Right.
So I kind of suppressed all of that communication from all of those people all of my life.
Okay.
And then so it was there boiling, it's like, you stay down, I'm in charge, stay down. That's that weird thing that we do to ourselves. So it's not real, it's not real.
Yeah, but we can't suppress it. If it's supposed to, the energy, it's going to eventually come through.
Exactly. And luckily, not like, oozy green, painful blisters and boils. No,
exactly.
It comes through joyfully and healing and all of that sort of stuff. So I had all of that. I suppressed it like hell. And then in 1990, I watched Shirley MacLaine's miniseries, Out on a Limb.
Oh, yeah, that was I loved it. It really spoke to me a lot. Yes. It did.
In 1990, for me, it spoke to all of my fearful, the religious stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So all of that, oh my goodness, I shouldn't be thinking these terrible thoughts. And I actually loathed Shirley MacLaine. I thought, oh no, my beautiful Shirley, she's just awful. And then, you see, I'm a slow developer, right?
Me too. Me too. Me too.
So about 10 years later, in 2000, when I'd immigrated from Botswana to Australia, when you immigrate from all your family and all your friends,
Yep.
you actually are forced to go within.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I had quite a lot of depression, and
Yeah.
still, you will stay down. And then in 2008, I had a terrible memory of my childhood, terrible. And I could not suppress anything anymore.
Okay.
And I couldn't lie anymore, not to myself or anybody else.
Right.
And I was a great liar. I was a great liar because, well, I think I should have got an Oscar. I was so good at acting. Why was I never on the red carpet? I ask you, Janet, is it fair? But this terrible, terrible memory epiphany thing opened my life to everything, everything, everything. And instead of feeling, and the hate and the rage went on for months, till one day, as I stepped out my back door for a cigarette before I quit smoking, I said to everyone, you deal with this, because I can't. And
Okay.
it was like the whole weight lifted off my shoulders.
Wow.
And I wouldn't say joy flooded me, because that's not what happened. I had to learn to feel joy again.
Right. Right.
The terrible running around in circles going, I hate, I rage. I missed so much of my life because I suppressed it all. It sort of dissolved. It took some time, but it went away. And then I got into a program that went into prisons. And in prisons, you got to talk to people who had committed the crimes that you had committed against you. And you could talk to these men who had committed them.
Wow.
And see, and when you tell your story about your trauma, and I spoke to these men and I could actually see remorse in their eyes.
Wow.
And do you know, I would never have found that if I wasn't guided.
Right. Right. Right.
And it was on YouTube. I saw this YouTube video by this man called Michael Cockram. And he went into prisons, and he, spoke to prisoners, and it was called the Sycamore Tree Project.
Interesting.
I don't think it's still functioning, but how did I find that? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have gone looking for that because I didn't know it existed.
Right.
When it did, it helped.
Well, yeah, and that's the guidance, our wise inner self, our inner being, whatever you want to call it, or I think it's in conjunction with our non-physical people, whether we've met them or not, they lead us on a breadcrumb trail to get what we needed. And that's,
they're sitting at the kitchen table. Sorry. Right. Yep.
They're right here. Well, we are at an hour, so I like to keep these things to about an hour, but we'll chat. And again, for just audience, just being respectful of my audience. But we will definitely schedule another session and continue this discussion, because it has been fascinating, just totally fascinating.
And fun, because it's like we're all sitting around a kitchen table.
Right.
The dirty dishes, because we don't care about them. We just care about interacting with each other.
Right,
that
and we're focused on the present right now in this very moment, which again is another gift.
oh, thank you for contacting me, Janet. I appreciate it. I feel
Thank you.
you said honored earlier, but I feel honored because I do love talking about this.
It is just a blessing. And, again, our dominant intent here is to uplift and encourage and inspire and to
Yes.
bring hope and joy. And, we're just everyday, ordinary people sharing these beautiful experiences. And these experiences are available to anyone, anywhere, anytime. You don't have to do anything special. You just have to be willing and believe in this connection.
And the first person you think of when you have one of these signs, that's the guy.
That's it. Absolutely. It's beautiful. And you don't need someone else. Maybe in the beginning, if you're just, you're just learning about this stuff, because there are many people who, this is just not something that a world or anything that they spend any time on, but then they may become interested in it and they find it. And so they need guidance, then, there are people out there. And that is one of the things that I am more than happy to do, is to work with people one-on-one, just to support them and let them know, because at times you can feel like you're batshit crazy, just batshit crazy. I'm sorry, but you can. I mean, it's like,
write it down.
Is this for real? Is this for real? Yeah. All right, May. Well, I will be in touch with you again. And but much love to you. Have a wonderful Friday evening, even though it's Thursday evening for me, and or rest of your day. And we will talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Janet. I would love it. Mwah, mwah, mwah. That's what I do to my grandchildren.
I love it. Take care. See ya. Bye.
Take care and bye.